Hey crafters, if you are ready to level up your Design Space knowledge, then stick around for my Design Space Level 2 tutorial. It is going to be beginner friendly, but if you've literally never used Design Space before, then go and check out my Design Space Level 1 or my Design Space in under 10 minutes videos first, because that's definitely the place to start. But for the rest of you, let's get straight to it. Go ahead and open Design Space and head to the canvas. I'm going to start by filling in some of the gaps on the left-hand menu, or the design menu as some people call it. In my Complete Beginner videos, I don't cover certain things in the design menu, which you don't need to know about when you're just starting, but now that you guys have got past the basics, we can start introducing them. First we will look at is templates. The idea behind templates is to help you design your projects with a particular blank in mind, whether that's an apron or a mobile phone or a card, and it's there to kind of help you with sizing and just to make sure things are in proportion. So if you click on template, you'll see there are lots of different categories. You can also filter the categories by clicking on the drop-down list. Let's say, for example, I'm going to be creating a design to put onto a t-shirt with iron-on vinyl. I can filter for fashion and then choose which kind of t-shirt I'm going to be using. So let's just say classic t-shirt. And the first thing that happens when you put a template on your canvas is you get a little warning sign. And it's just telling you that your template is something for you to use during the project, but it doesn't save with your project. And one tip that Cricut gives is to grab a text box and type into it exactly which template you've chosen, because there are variations. For example, even within classic t-shirt, I can decide whether I'm using a men's or a woman's, kids, etc., and then also adjust the size. So if I were to set this to a woman's short sleeve in a medium size, then that's the template that is given to me. And what I can do is in a text box, I can just type women's classic t-shirt, classic t-shirt size medium. And then I would just keep that on my canvas and save it so that when I reopen the project at a later date, that will remind me which template I've used. If you want to select the template and change something about it, you can find it in the layers panel. Here at the bottom, you can see classic t-shirts. That's our template layer. So when I click on that, then the menu reopens where I can make changes. And if you decide that you no longer need to see the template, you can just click on the hide icon. Whilst we're talking about templates, I want to show you another way that you can create the equivalent of a template. It's referred to as a guide layer. Let's start by grabbing a shape. For example, how about this hexagon? Let me just resize that. So let's say, for example, I bought a mirror or a tray or something in this shape, and I want to now design something to decorate that blank with. What I can do is resize the shape to be the same size as my blank. Let's say along this widest part, it's 20 centimeters. I can just type that into the width box. Under operation, I can change it to a guide. So now you'll see it's a guide layer. And this is a layer which, like a template, it's only on your canvas as a guide. It won't be something that shows up when you go through to make it. And it's there again to help you get an idea of how you can arrange things and how they might look on your final blank. The difference between this guide layer and the templates is that when you save your project, the guide layers will stay there, but the templates don't. But on the flip side, you do have to create your own shape to become a guide. You can't take one of the pre-made templates and turn that into a guide layer, unfortunately. Another function in the design menu that we didn't look at before is phrases. So let's go ahead and look at that now. Now, to be honest, everything you find within the phrases area is also available in images. But what Cricut have done is they've picked out all of the images that have words in them and put them into their own category. So it's kind of like they've pre-filtered the images. This is quite handy because if you know, for example, you're making a birthday card or a Father's Day card, then within phrases you can search for your particular search term. And what you find is relevant images which already have the text in them, pre-designed, looking nice, that you could just put straight into your project. For example, if I search for teacher, because it's almost the end of the year and time to say thank you to my kids' lovely teachers, what you see is I've got loads of lovely pre-designed images that I could use in whatever way I want to for my teacher thank you gift. It works much the same way as images. If you like something, make sure you bookmark it by clicking on the little icon at the bottom. If you want to use it, then when you click on it, it appears at the bottom and you can add it to your canvas, and then you can keep working with it there to make it exactly as you want for your design. For example, if I went back into templates and searched for cards, and I put a template for a card onto my canvas, it's all the way up here. What I can do now is make sure that this is the size of card that I'm using. Let's say I'm actually doing 6 by 6 inches. And then I can use the phrase that I've just found and resize it to fit on the card. So hopefully you can see nothing in Design Space is that complicated. You just kind of need to have a play around and start figuring things out. Let's keep going with designing this teacher's card and have a look at editable images. Again, all of these images are also available in the Images tab on the design menu. So this is just another way that the images have been pre-filtered for us. And these are all the images that are editable. Now what that means basically in all of the cases is that there's a section of text, maybe where it's been personalized with a name, that you are able to edit and change to whatever name that you want. So why don't we go ahead and search teacher again in here. Let's say I want to use this image here. It's quite a cute one, crayons, but my kid's teacher's name is not actually Miss Harris. But that's not a problem because I can add it to the canvas. And then this section here, which we can see has a blue outline, is the editable text. So to get to that, I have to first click on the design, and then you'll see it's highlighted this group in the layers panel. And then I have to reveal what's inside the group. And we can see we've got this layer with the crayons and then the separate layer with the text. And now, if I double click in here, I can change the text as I need it. And now I can go ahead and make this card. And so just to make it really clear, whenever you're looking at images, whether it's in images on the canvas, phrases, edible text, or even on the homepage, wherever you see text that has a blue outline and the image has this symbol here, then that is indicating that this is an image which has editable text, as in you can get it on your canvas and change it to be specific to what you want to make. I'm not going to cover how to upload images because that honestly is a whole video of its own, which I have already done on this channel. So I will link that for you in the description. If that's something that you want to be doing, then go ahead and watch that video. I'm going to move on now to monogram. So a lot of the things that Cricut have put in Design Space is stuff that you're able to do anyway with all the basic shapes and images and text. But they've put in features that sort of shortcut the process. So here you'll see that we can build a monogram. That's something that we could do anyway with just images and text that we find in the Design Space library. But doing it this way, you get kind of nice designs that are just pre-made for us. And they've already done the kind of thinking behind the design to make sure it's something that looks really nice. To use the monogram maker, you start by putting in the initials that you're using. So for example, RK. And then just have a look at all the different options. You can see under classic, you can decide what is the kind of vibe of your monogram. Are you doing something modern or are you going something more traditional? You can change the style of the text. And as we're making these changes, we'll get like a preview of the monogram up here in this section. And if you want to kind of cycle through the different options, then just click on the arrow and it will show you all the different frames. Within classic, you can build, I would say, the more basic versions of the monograms. If you switch over to thematic, then you can get things which are like really quite spectacular. So there are again different themes: botanical, decorative, occasions, interests, and sports. I quite like the botanical ones because they are just really pretty, and I can imagine these being really nice, stickers to put on gifts or party bag favors. And when you're happy with your design, you can add it to canvas. Now the way the feature works is that once you've added your design to the canvas, you'll see in the layers panel, it's got multiple layers, and it is by default set to be cut layers, meaning each of these different elements, the flowers, the border, the text, would be cut. Imagine you're using vinyl or something. But as I mentioned earlier, what if we want to actually make this as a sticker? So we want to print and then cut. The easiest way to do that in the latest version of Design Space is to use Create Sticker. I've done a really thorough video on Create Sticker, so I'm going to do a very quick demonstration here, because if you want to know the details, then you should watch that video. But I just want to show you that if you simply click on Create Sticker, let's select die cut and add a standard border to the sticker and hit apply. Now what we've got is, you can see a sticker, it's print and cut, meaning we would first print this and then we would load it in the machine and it would cut out this sticker for us. And to me, that looks gorgeous. And in fact, when I finally get around to thinking about the party bags that I'm going to give at my kids' birthday parties, this might be the exact kind of thing that I would want to make and personalize for each of the kids who's coming. Because you know what? Sometimes it's nice to be that mom who's a little bit extra. I want to now move on to the menu at the top, which is kind of the edit menu. It's how we take something that's already on our canvas and make changes to it. And in the last video, I showed you things like how to resize it and rotate it. Let's now look at a couple of the other features which we haven't talked about before. And I'm going to start with offset. So to demonstrate this, I will first of all grab a shape, let's say a star, and let's just change the color. resize it a bit. Now what offset does is it will add kind of a bubble layer around your shape. So if you just select offset, you can already see that there is a blue line that has appeared around the star. So what it will do is if we were to hit apply right now, it would create a layer that is in this kind of shape. And this is quite a handy feature because sometimes it's something you want to do in your design to create kind of a background to your image. The tool has a few different options that you can play around with. So by moving this slider up and down, you can make the offset actually become smaller, so go inside your original shape, or you can just make it an even wider offset from the original shape. The other thing you can do is to change the corner style. So at the moment you can see they're quite curved. If we change those to be square corners, then you get a sharp corner. If I now hit apply, and you can see it has created an offset layer. If I move this star, you can see we've got 2 stars with the black one being the offset layer. It will auto create the offset in black. Obviously you can change that color if you want to, for example like this. And one way in which you might find this useful is if you are trying to create a frame, for example. So if we now highlight both of these layers and center them, and if I use the function slice, you can see what it's done is it has sliced out this shape from the layer below it, and what we've ended up with is this cool looking star shaped frame. Slice is another feature that I have talked about at length in its own video. I will link that for you. I just wanted to give you an idea of why you might want to use offset, but if you need the details of slice, check out that video. Now I want to demonstrate offset for you again, but this time using text. So let's grab the text box and put something onto our canvas. And I know it's just a demonstration, but I have to use a nice font. I can't just leave it as this like Cricut Sans font. No thank you. Let's go with this. Let's say we're going really old school, doing something for history class or something. Offset is a really nice feature to use with text, and let me show you how. So if we create an offset layer, let's this time make it with round corners. And you can see the line where it's going to be created. Here, I might make it a bit bigger to get rid of this little tiny section in here because we don't really need that to be preserved. And I can be precise about how big it is by typing in the box. So let's try 0.7. And I might try 0.75. Just keep going until it gets to kind of the size that will get rid of that little bubble there. Yeah, that looks better. Now we've got rid of that little kink we had here. Select apply. Let's change the color. And there you go. So you can see the offset is quite a handy feature for working with text, especially if you are wanting to create something like a label. The next feature on the edit menu is create sticker. But as I mentioned, I do have a whole video that is specifically about create sticker. I would recommend you watch that because I really go into the detail of it, which is probably too much for this video. I'm going to instead move on to the warp function. To demonstrate this, let's grab another shape, or let's just take this star over here. Warp is a cool feature because it allows you to reshape things to match the kind of outline shapes that are given within the feature. For example, let's have a look at this one. And you can create some really cool effects. Once you've chosen a design, you can adjust how much it warps. So if you want to actually not make it quite as much as that. Because here you go from 0 to just a normal looking star, and now it looks like a cute star. Do you see the difference? But if you go all the way to here, now it's starting to look a bit more like a rocket ship. But that's what's cool about this feature, is that you can play around with it and make some really cool shapes, cool images. Warp is another one that works nicely with text. So if we were to say thank you again, make it a bit bigger, and then try out warp on here. Let's say we want to curve the text. You can move the pop-up menu around so you can see what's happening on your canvas. If I want to make it even more curved, something like that, then I just move the slider around. Or if I wanted it to be a bit more kind of a wedge type shape, you can see it's making it slimmer in the middle than it is at the edges. So warp is the kind of feature that I really think you should just start playing around with and see how you can fit it into a design that you're making. A couple of caveats with the warp feature. You cannot use this on a print and cut layer. So you remember earlier we made this sticker. So warp, you can see, is not something we can do with this layer. However, basically everything else in Design Space you can use the warp feature. It is a feature that requires you to have a Cricut Access subscription. You can play around with it and see what it does even if you don't have a subscription. subscription, but if you then want to go ahead and make that project, you would have to become a member. Okay, so that was a quick run through of level 2 Design Space features. I hope that was helpful. I would say the next step on your journey should be to go and watch this video that I've done all about working with fonts in Design Space. Not just how you use fonts within Design Space, but also how you work with them and incorporate them from a design perspective. I will see you next time. Until then, happy crafting!